Welcome to the 34th C.Z. Scaria Memorial Lecture Series. Professor C.Z. Scaria, one of the most distinguished educators and academicians, is an endured intellectual, a scholar of deep learning, a visionary, and above all, a gifted teacher and orator who has mentored and inspired generations of students. The Department of Economics, St. Bergman's, is proud and honored to bring to you the 34th edition of this lecture series in memory of this legend. Let us begin the program by invoking Lord's grace with a moment of silent prayer. Thank you. Now let me invite Dr. Scaria for the welcome address.
Good morning. Respected Father Rajipi Kurian, Principal of the College and President of this meeting, Dr. Rosemary K. Abraham, IES, the keynote speaker, Mr. Maman Matthew, alumnus, who is remembering C.Z. Scaria sir, Mr. Johnson K. Joyce, Head of the Department of Economics, former heads and faculty members of the department, distinguished alumni members, family members of C.Z. Scaria sir, my esteemed colleagues and dear students. Good morning and welcome to the 34th C.Z. Scaria Memorial Lecture. This is a special year for us as our college and our department is celebrating its centenary. The Department of Economics is one of the oldest departments of this college, established along with the college. We started the BA Economics program in the year 1934 and MA Economics program in 1957 and have instituted 3 memorial lectures in the honor of our eminent faculty members way back from 1980 onwards. As most of us know, Professor C.Z. Scaria Memorial Lecture dated back to 1988 and it's conceived to honor Professor C.Z. Scaria, a former head of the department. He was a great academician and a visionary who cradled and nurtured the department to its present status. I take this opportunity to salute the fond memory of Professor C.Z. Scaria. I'm not going to the details of Professor C.Z. Scaria sir's contribution as Maman Matthew sir will enlist those later in this meeting. For the memorial lecture, we received distinguished researchers and scholars from different parts of the country and abroad to St. Bergman's and bring their work to the attention of present and past St. Bergman's community and the broader public. This is a great tradition that we are following for the last 34 years. If you scan the list of earlier lectures, it is evident that the speakers are from different fields of economics, macroeconomics, international economics, public finance, policy research, and more. You also see that they address different questions and seek solution to different economic challenges and continually bring new insights to humanity. This lecture is also a part of this continuing tradition. With these brief words of introduction, let me pass on the assigned duty of welcoming those present in this desktop memorial lecture. The president of this session, Father Rajipi Kurian, our principal, he is guiding the St. Bergman's with great passion. Under his leadership, we are exploring different possibilities to have international exposure. We acknowledge all your efforts and hearty welcome, dear Father, to this lecture. It's my pleasure to introduce our chief guest, Dr. Rosemary K. Abraham. She's an officer of Indian Economic Service 2006 batch and is currently a director in the Department of Investment and Public Asset Management of Ministry of Finance, Government of India, looking after the disinvestment center public sector enterprises, the defense and financial service sector. She was the part of Department of Economic Affairs of Ministry of Finance, dealing with policy issues in Indian securities market from 2008 to 2021. She had over 18 years of experience with about 14 years in policy making in matters related to equity, debt, and commodity derivatives market. She was a member of the Commodity Derivatives Advisory Committee, Secondary Market Advisory Committee, and Primary Market Advisory Committee of SEBI. She also served as the member of the working group constituted by the Ministry of Finance for developing a regulated warehousing ecosystem for non-agriculture commodities and is presently a member of committee drafting the Consolidated Securities Market Code. Before joining the Government of India as an IAS officer, she had been working as a lecturer in economics at Assumption College, Changanasheri. She is also an honorary trustee of CPPR at Pingtang in Kerala. Ms. Rosemary earned PhD in economics in the area of commodity markets from Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi, and MPhil in economics from University of Hyderabad. She also held a postgraduate diploma in environmental economics and had qualified for several fellowships and research awards. She has published articles in academic journals and newspapers. Though Dr. Rosemary is busy with her official commitments, she accepted our invitation to find some time to share her valuable insights with us. We are extremely grateful to you, madam, and extend you a delightful welcome. Mr. Maman Matthew, our distinguished alumni, is here to share profound memories of Professor Scaria. He did his BA and MA Economics program in SB in 1986. Mr. Matthew joined Cabinet Secretariat, New Delhi in 1990. He has served 32 years in National Security Affairs and International Relations. He retired from service as Deputy Secretary in 2021. Currently, Mr. Matthew is a consultant in National Securities Council, Secretariat, New Delhi. Welcome, dear sir, to your alma mater.
Thank you.
Head of the department, Mr. Johnson K. Joyce, is a capable team leader with great interpersonal skills who try to bring the best in our students. A pleasant welcome to you, sir. I welcome all our former heads of the department and faculty members who were the department's torch bearers for quite a long time. So lovely to have you with us today. Hearty welcome, dear teachers. We gratefully acknowledge Professor C.S. Scaria sir's family members' support for this memorial lecture. MA Economics Program 2021 topper, Ms. Elizabeth James, is on this platform to receive C.S. Scaria Award. Warm welcome, dear Elizabeth. I welcome all my esteemed colleagues who are present here to attend this lecture. I also extend a cordial welcome to all our esteemed alumni who are present in this online meeting. The actual beneficiaries of this lecture is our dear students. I request you to take maximum out of this lecture. Welcome you all. I again extend a very cordial welcome to everybody present here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Next, I would like to invite Principal of the College, Father H.P. Kurian, for the presidential address.
Thank you, Ritu. Respected Rosemary K. Abraham, IES, Director, Department.
Rajecha, excuse me. You are not audible. I think.
Yeah, okay. Am I audible now? Hello?
Yes, now audible.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So, respected Dr. Rosemary K. Abraham, IES, Director, Department of Investment and Public Asset Management, Ministry of Finance, New Delhi. Respected Maman Matthew sir, our one of the greatest alumni. Respected distinguished guests, head of the department, Professor Johnson K. Joyce, former teachers, members from the family of Professor Caesar Scaria, other distinguished guests, and my dear students. Good morning to you all. SB was always and is remembered by its legendary teachers and great students who serve the humanity all across the world. In this centenary year, especially, remembering those legends and acknowledging their contributions, which made SB what it is now, is our duty, I think. And in the case of Professor Caesar Scaria, who was a great teacher, academician, an organizer, eloquent orator, and he was both in the Senate and syndicate for more than 24, for about 24 years continuously, and what the more, a multifaceted genius. And he made SB in many ways great, and we pay a great respect to him, especially in this centenary year. I'm sure that Maman Matthew sir, we had a chat yesterday. Yes, I remember, sir. So Maman Matthew sir will share his personal experience with Caesar Scaria sir, especially this personal remembrance in the centenary year is very special to SB, I think, sir. So these centenary celebrations of SB is marked with a lot of academic exercises. Though COVID, the pandemic has made a lot of restrictions, we could overcome all these restrictions by this type of, at least this type of online programs. On the other way, also we had a lot of we got a lot of chances from to hear from all around the world great personalities also. Yeah, this Caesar Scaria Memorial Lecture is one of the most important and prestigious one by its quality of conduct and the presence and the persons who deliver the lecture. This year, especially in this centenary year, this 34th memorial lecture, we are very happy and proud that a great personality from Changanasheri itself is delivering the lecture. So really, it is a proud and great occasion for SB, SB community. That means all the alumni members, many of the alumni members are there. They are in great positions. So we are very happy to welcome once again Dr. Rosemary K. Abraham, IES, to our midst. I am sure that her great experience and the knowledge in this topic, speculation for the price risk management in agriculture, especially has MPhil, I think she has special have some degree in agroeconomics, I think. Yeah, price risk management in agriculture will give new way of thought and may help the students to go beyond through their research. Thank you very much, madam, for your great generosity. So it's a great occasion for SB, I think, especially. Once again, this time of this Caesar Scaria Memorial Lecture is a great occasion for all the alumni members of economics department and former teachers and present teachers to join together to remember one of the great legendary professor to Professor Caesar Scaria, and it is an occasion to recollect fond memories related to SB. Thank you all, our great alumni members. And this is an occasion for our students to get more academic knowledge and to have academic to become more academically excellent in all these things. All the best, my dear students. You may explore this occasion and have a better vision in these agroeconomics itself. Once again, remembering our Professor Caesar Scaria and his great contributions, and all the best to the participants. I remain. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you, Father. Professor Caesar Scaria has a pantheon of students who have made it to various positions of administration of the country. Today, we are honored to have with us Mr. Marmin Matthew, who is an alumnus of our department and currently is a consultant in National Security Council Secretariat, New Delhi. Let me cordially invite Mr. Marmin Matthew to share his memories of Professor Caesar Scaria.
Am I audible?
Yes,
Hello?
sir.
Yes,
Okay.
sir. Yes, sir.
Some disturbance was there. Please unmute your microphone. Others, please. All others, please. Thank you. Respected Principal, Reverend Father Reggie Picurian, Head of the Department of Economics, Professor Johnson K. Joyce, today's main speaker, Ms. Rosemary K. Abraham, IES, Program Coordinator, Dr. Anila Scaria, former faculty members and current faculty members, my batchmates, alumni and students. Good morning, everyone. It's an honor for me to address this August gathering on the occasion of remembering our mentor, late Professor Cheruvallat Sakaria Scaria. For the past few days, since I received the invitation from Dr. Anila Scaria to speak in this esteemed annual lecture series about Caesar Sir, as we used to call him, it really opened a treasure of beautiful memories. I know all of you are eagerly waiting for a brainstorming session with Ms. Rosemary K. Abraham, IES. I assure you that my words will be as brief as possible. Remembering a multifaceted personality like Professor Caesar Scaria is not an easy task. I would like to share a few reminiscences from my 5 years at SB College campus that may take my alumni friends back in time and provide a glimpse to young budding economists and other participants. During those days, I believe this campus was overflowing with enthusiasm. With the presence of two unique personalities, namely Principal late Reverend Father Matthews Pulikiprambil, who calls each and every student by name, and the legend Professor Caesar Scaria as the head of the Department of Economics. Our life in this campus was further illuminated by luminaries, namely Professor T.V. Varki, Professor K.K. Francis, Professor C.O. Abraham, Professor T.V. Abraham, Dr. M.S. James. The youngest of the faculty at the time was Dr. Joska Joseph. My sincere apologies if I missed a few names. Words will never suffice to detail the services of great scholar Professor Caesar Scaria, spanning around 40 years since he joined the Department of Economics at St. Bergman's College in 1949, just a year and a few months after our country attained independence. We were blessed with his unique and unusual teaching skills, the peak of his career, particularly for our batch, 1984-86 MA Economics, just a year ahead of his retirement from the active services in 1987. He was an inspiring teacher. He came to the class empty-handed, but heart full of thoughts and ideas to fill the brains of his students in capsules. He appeared to be calm always, but his expressions were powerful. Though he was an authority in the field of education, particularly economics, he never showed off in the corridors of power. He used to advise his students not to indulge in campus politics. When I requested few of my batchmates to share something about him, everyone was very vocal on his unique way of teaching, impeccable English, his wits, intelligence, and communication skills. Over and above, we learn from him how to take care of others. Whenever he feels he can convincingly explain something to students in Malayalam, he opens up his treasure of humor. For example, to explain indifferent curve theory, once he said in class, if boy says, Mariamme aanengalum vendilla, Achamme aanengalum vendilla, it's very clear that he is indifferent. But if a boy says, Mariamme kettu, it shows that his preference is strong. This is the way he used to explain concepts in the class. Scaria sir was very keen in reading the notes prepared by each and every student. From those notes, he makes a clear assessment about his students, the extent of reading by students in library, etc. I recall that I had read a book of Paul Samuelson in the library. I don't remember the title of the book. I mentioned a quote from his book, Tail Wags the Dog, in an assignment. Scaria sir repeated the quote, Tail Wags the Dog, 3 times in the next class. To indicate that good quotations at right place can enrich the notes and presentations that provide analogies to assimilate theories. He was always forthcoming to share his knowledge and connections to help students. He was a guide to his students for higher education and even suggest relevant themes with contemporary interest for research in other universities. Once he was determined to help someone, he used to do it without bothering about any repercussions. He lived a life of his own way in which his students, colleagues, and people around him were his priorities. When we looked at his leadership qualities, he was a troubleshooter at many occasions. I heard with his progressive ideas and pro-labor stance made him acceptable for ironing out solutions at the conflicting situations. He always fought for the rights and well-being of the teaching community. His contributions to education field as member of Senate and Syndicate of Kerala University, simultaneously for a long period of 1960 to 1984, and chairman of Board of Studies of different universities are well known. He had also served as newly formed Mahatma Gandhi University as Dean of Faculty of Social Sciences. Ours was the first batch of MA Economics of Mahatma Gandhi University. Our library is one of the best in South India. Library was one of the main attractions. Coupled with excellent faculties and volleyball game, which forced me join back to SB after joining for MA Economics in another college. Principal Pulikal Paramlachan was kind enough to get me admitted in MA Economics on my request. That was a turning point in my life. Scaria sir was the inspiration for me to buy books on economics for personal stock by saving pocket money. I finished my farewell speech of our MA batch in 1986 by quoting that there are several slips between the cup and the lip. Reality is that life is always slipping between the cup and the lip. We learned from Scaria sir and other luminaries of the Department of Economics how to sail through in storms and tsunamis of life. We sailed through all these tribulations. Now we understand that all these are mere slips between the cup and the lip. The rest is the blessing of God. Personally, I was inherently indifferent to politics, and the same was with campus politics. Following my post-graduation, I was recruited to Cabinet Secretariat and assigned matters related to national security where I could remain aloof from public dealing. This lecture and remembrance of the legend, Professor C. Scaria, brought me back once again to this lively campus, though online. This brought all our batchmates together and refreshed our memories. Let us bow our heads before the great memories of our beloved political Parambalachen, Professor C.S. Scaria, and other luminaries. I wish the college itself and the Department of Economics in particular attain new heights during the coming years. Once again, I thank the principal, head of the department, faculties, Dr. Anila Scaria, for granting me this opportunity to remember all our mentors once again. Thanks a lot to alumni, my batchmates, undergraduate and PG students, and family members of Scaria sir for listening to me. Kindly accept my best wishes for the ongoing centennial celebrations of the college. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Rosemary K. Abraham, IAS, is currently a director in the Department of Investment and Public Asset Management of Ministry of Finance. Apart from being an important policymaker of our nation, Ms. Rosemary is an enthusiastic academician. She completed her PhD from JNU. She is a recipient of several fellowships and research awards and published articles in academic journals and in newspapers throughout her academic career. It's my pleasure to invite Dr. Rosemary K. Abraham, IAS, to deliver the 34th ZZ Scaria Memorial Lecture on the topic Unintended Consequences of Excessive Concerns on Speculation for the Price Risk Management in Agriculture.
Thank you, Ritu. Most respected principal, teachers, Mr. Maman Matthew, family members of Professor C.S. Scaria, distinguished guests and alumni who are in the audience, ladies and gentlemen, and my dear student friends. First of all, I thank the organizers, particularly Dr. Anila, for extending this invitation to me. And I am extremely privileged and honored to be the 34th in line to deliver this prestigious lecture where, the stalwarts and the who is who of intellectual and academic world have graced the occasion in the past. As the saying goes in Bible, I'm not even worthy of untying the straps of their sandals. I've not been fortunate to be a student of Professor Caesar. Probably when when he returned, probably I was just entering my school days. But my parents, who were also teachers, and my uncles, they all knew Caesar. And in fact, when I mentioned to my uncle that, see, this year I am delivering the Caesar Memorial Lecture, he jokingly quipped, "Oh, Caesar must be turning in his grave." I hope I will do some justice to his eminence and scholarship. And as Mr. Maman Matthew mentioned, Mariamyanilum Vendilla, Achamyanilum Vendilla, and approach a Pava Alma Vedukumana Vijarikana. Anyway, even though I was not a student of SP College, my brothers were. And I had the fortune of being mentored by many of your principals, former principals. I remember with fondness our kind and sweet Father Joseph Battakalam, the sporty Asia Dachan, the young and bubbly Father Tom Kunumbram. They were all our lead chaplains in the Assumption Sunday School. In fact, when I was teaching at Assumption College years later, Father Tom Kunumbram was the principal of SP College. And that was at that time that I cleared the civil services. So Father Tom Kunumbram sent me a beautiful congratulatory note, which still stays with me. This is notwithstanding, the kind of siblings rivalry that we used to have between Assumption and SP College. Talking of siblings rivalry, I should also mention my experiences with SP College during my student days. I used to come to SP College for speech or debate competitions. But when Berkmanites know that, it's an Assumptionite on the stage, we were always extended a very warm and loud reception. ശുദ്ധ മലയാളത്തിൽ പറഞ്ഞാൽ നിലം തൊടാതെ കൂവി വിടും. Thankful to this online interventions, I think, I am saved from that honorary welcome to you for an Assumptionite at SB College. Anyway, this was not always a case of, rivalry or competition between SBA and Assumption College. We had great amount of cooperation and even at times I would say bailout. Because when we were doing our graduation, ours was the batch with which MG University experimented a new syllabus. In those days, economics is something which is pursued by students who are, perennially afraid of mathematics. But MG University introduced a lot of mathematics, calculus, and differentiation into our syllabus, and they brought in new modules like financial markets. All across the colleges under MG University, there were protests. Half of the teachers didn't know how to teach, and bulk of the students didn't want to learn either. So Assumption College at that time, there were no permanent appointments also happening in the colleges. So we had very skeletal teaching staff in the college. So even when it was nearing our annual exams in January, we still hadn't covered the module of financial markets. Then came our savior from SB College, Professor Stephen Matthews. So he gave us a very, crash and intensive course in financial markets for a week, and that still stays with me. And I would say whatever I have learned about financial markets is all, that I have picked up from Stephen Matthews, sir. In North India, we have a, funny dialogue, Meri pas maa hai. So like that, I can always say that, mere saath Stephen sir's lectures tha. So when I joined Financial Markets Division of Ministry of Finance as an assistant director, that was the beginning of my career. Unlike my other colleagues, I was not terrified because, he had given me a strong foundation in that. Now, before getting into my lecture, I have to make a few disclaimers here, being a bureaucrat. Ritu, can I upload a document here on the screen? Can I share the presentation?
Sure, ma'am.
Okay.
Sure, ma'am.
Thank you. Is it all visible to you all?
Yes, ma'am, it's visible.
Okay, yeah. Because your screen has gone from my screen, I am not able to see. So if there is anything that happens in between, please to communicate to me. So the first and foremost disclaimer as a bureaucrat that I have to make here is that these are strictly my personal views, and there's in no way, yeah. So,
if I show you something can be the slide, it would be better to see the slides.
Sorry, somebody was saying something?
If that activity can be put in a slide,
Can everyone please?
if it can be in a presentation mode, that would be better.
Can everyone please mute the mic? Yeah, thank you. I'll share once again. Hope it is visible to you. So these are my personal views, and this would in no way reflect the views of my employer, which is Government of India, or my regulator, SEBI. And see, I would be sharing my open opinion about certain, official prejudices that we had. But this is not the prejudice of any particular government. This is something which we had been harboring for a century over. And this is based on the same prejudice that exists in the public also. So I'm taking this opportunity to educate my fellow citizens on, the importance of making markets work for, the agri sector. And some of these ideas have already been accepted for publication as a chapter in the upcoming Routledge book. So agrarian distress is something which has been laid bare before us. We had been having successive good monsoons and had surplus production, yet our farmers are out there on the street protesting. Now look at it from the perspective of consumers. Even when the prices were really crashing below the floor price announced by the government, which is the minimum support price, we didn't see much of reduction in the commodity prices. So the farmers are also not benefiting, the consumers are also not benefiting. It is in this context that government started talking about doubling of farmers' income. Now, what is farmers' income? Farmers' income is the price that we pay to them for their produce. So even if it is not doubled, or even if their cost of production could be reduced technologies, at least can we ensure that they get a price which is remunerative enough to at least cover their cost of production and leave some margin or surplus with them. So this assurance on price is something very critical to the existence or sustenance of farming in India. If you recollect the recent protest that we had, which led to the withdrawal of all the farm laws in November 2021, the root cause of all this was, farmers were demanding for price protection, whether it was, they were asking literally for an MSP for crops, because they were apprehending that government would soon walk out of that obligation, even though government kept on saying that, government remains committed to MSP. So to my mind, the root risk or the root cause of all risk in agri sector is the price risk, which is the risk of an economic loss or the loss of money that you have on account of an adverse movement in price or the volatility in price. And this is much more a serious consideration for the farmers than other kinds of shocks to the system, like yield risk. Yield is, your output is lost, say due to a hailstorm or flood, or the risk that you suffer because of storage risk, or the wastage that happens due to lack of proper warehouses. So how do you manage this price risk? There are various ways in which you can do that. The most familiar one that you are aware of, and you might have studied in your economics classes, is the MSP, or the minimum support price. Now, what is in the minimum support price? Here, the government is saying that, or giving an assurance to the farmers that, if nobody comes and purchases from you, then I will come and purchase from you at so and so price. So this is supposed to be the floor price, below which the prices should not be crashing. But this is theory, because MSP can prevail only if the government agencies are there on the ground in the market, in every single market, to purchase the produce from the farmers. So the FCI, NAFED, Harford, all these agencies go into the mandis or the markets and get the produce. So MSP necessarily involves a back-end infrastructure to be created, which is essentially the FCI or NAFED will have to store this grains that they have procured. So you need to have a lot of storages and warehouses. And bulk of the government loss comes from this storage and wastage that happens because of this. For instance, if we have to pay 100 rupees to farmers, government has to spend, or the FCI will have to spend 150 rupees. That is the state of affairs right now. Now, when MSP is given, government cannot extend MSP for, vast many crops. And probably the MSP operation gets, limited to very few crops. Like, for instance, right now, rice and wheat probably would witness a lot of MSP procurement, whereas the remaining some 20 odd crops would not see much of intervention from the government side. That is because the arms of government are very limited and they have very limited reach. So MSP makes it attractive for farmers to only produce those crops where government gives an assurance. Now, the consequence of that comes on the ecology. So you would see that in a lot of drought-hit areas, farmers are producing sugarcane. So they are only producing those products where government is giving them some assurance on price. In fact, one of the FC officials, secretly, confidently, he was talking to me, and he said, actually government would do better, if we give money to the farmers not to produce rice and wheat. This was a time when our granaries were overflowing. So the second method of giving some assurance on price is using a product called price insurance. This is an insurance product, but then, this is not something which we have in India. You might have heard about crop insurance. Crop insurance is something which covers the yield risk that I mentioned a bit earlier. Now, the third method is contract farming, for which government had recently brought in a bill and had to withdraw that. Contract farming, what happens is, the farmer and say an industrialist would come to an agreement beforehand. The industrialist would be supplying his raw materials, then the farming will happen, and the produce will have to be given mandatorily to the person who actually sponsored or supported your farming. So, for instance, simple case that I can talk about is PepsiCo asking farmers to produce potato for their Lay's chips. Now, this is also, in this is in practice right now, but then, there is no law governing this framework. And the other foremost and, oldest and probably yet the newest instrument is called the derivatives. Derivatives, as the word signifies, is something which derives its value from some underlying commodity. So, based on the price of wheat or rice, a contract which is based on that derives its value. There are some disturbances. Can I request everybody to switch off their mic, please? Thank you. Now, there are three kinds of contracting structures in derivatives. Now, this is the one of the difficult part. After that, I assure you, there won't be any further difficulty in following my lecture. Once I can get you past through these 2-3 fundamental concepts, I hope it would be, all of us would be on the same page. And for seniors, it might find very boring in the beginning, but I am presuming I have got lots of students in my audience. So let me just walk you through 3 kinds of contracting structures available in the market. One is called the forward contracts. Forwards are very customized products between 2 people, like me and Ritu. Both of us would enter into a contract to buy and sell, say, wheat of a particular variety, of a particular quality, at so and so price, at a so and so future date. So this is simply called a forward agreement. Now, all forward agreements necessarily have to be settled or, on maturity. How the contract expires is by giving delivery of that underlying commodity on which you have written the contract. Like wheat was the basis of your contract, then you will physically deliver wheat and will close the contract on the maturity date. So committed delivery is the cardinal feature of forward contracts. Please note that. It has to be settled with delivery of the underlying commodity. That is how the law is written in this country. Now, forwards are generally something which is bilaterally negotiated. It happens outside the exchange platform. There is no guarantee to it. After entering into the contract, parties can walk out of it. Nobody is you will have to get recourse by going to the courts. So then comes the improvised version, which is called the futures contract. Forwards was very customized. When you come to futures contract, everything is standardized to the word T. Like for instance, you will say what is the moisture content, what is the amount of foreign objects that can be there in the wheat produced, what is the quantity that will be delivered under one contract. Say it will be for 100 kg of wheat you are writing the contract. You will clearly say what is the delivery center where you will have to deliver on the expiry day of the contract. So everything is defined, and the only thing which is left to be determined in the market is the price. So this is an instrument for discovering the price in future. So you will essentially in a futures contract, you will be saying or you will be discovering the price of a particular quality of wheat in a particular mandi, or say chana to be delivered in Bikaner mandi. What is the price 3 months down the line? Now this is an exchange-based contract. When it is an exchange-based contract, it means that exchange act as a guarantor, central counterparty to both the buyer and seller here. So if the seller does not give delivery of the wheat, then the exchange will see to it that the buyer gets the delivery of wheat from some other source. So for this guarantee, for ensuring this guarantee, exchanges would mandate that parties will have to keep a certain margin. So if it is for 100 rupee contract, then you will have to say keep 5 rupees with the exchange all through your contract time as an initial margin. Then there are a lot of other margins as well. Like for instance, every day, you are entering into a contract for 3 or 6 months duration. Now exchange will have to monitor your performance all through this period. and price after 6 months would be completely different from the price which is in the earlier period. Just because there is a substantial, this price risk is emerging only because there is a substantial gap between your sowing period and your harvest season. So how do exchanges do this magic? Every day exchange will see whether your contract is in profit or loss. For instance, if you're entered into a buy contract, say for buying wheat at say 100 rupees, and imagine that day the price is 110 rupees. So that means your contract is in profit. You have a 10 rupee margin. So exchange will literally transfer, okay, this 10 rupees from your counterparty's account to your bank account. Next day, the price might be 90 rupees. Then this 10 rupee will be taken out from your account and deposited into another person's account. So if there is significant volatility, then you experience something called extra margin calls. You will have to keep extra money in the bank account to run this. So now look at it from the perspective of the farmers. Farmers will have to do this daily monitoring if they enter into this kind of a contract, because this is essentially suited for big players in the market, or as a collective farmers producer organization, they can come and do this contracting structures. In futures, what you have to be necessarily be aware of is that it gives you a right. At the same time, it's your obligation as well. On the expiry day, either you will have to deliver your wheat or you will have to pay the money and take that wheat and walk out of the exchange. This is a mandatory commitment. Otherwise, next time you won't be able to come into the exchange space. You will be declared as a defaulter, and there are other penalties that flows in. So committed delivery is required if you're keeping that contract open, say till the end of the 3 months or 6 months. Now futures also, this was a very great deficiency in the forward contracting structure. Okay, because people, what if after entering into a contract you had a crop loss, or say your quality is not that of that quality as the exchange has prescribed, so you won't be able to deliver on the exchange platform. Now futures is a magical instrument because it allows you to exit from the contract anytime in between that 3 months or 6 months period. And how do you do that? You do that by taking an opposite position in the market. Like for instance, you already have, as a farmer, you have entered into a contract for selling your wheat. So basically you have purchased a futures contract for selling your seed, selling your wheat. Now you have committed for selling 100 kilogram of wheat at so and so price. Now imagine you had a crop loss. So you have to exit from this position. How do you exit? You will buy another contract which is equivalent, which is negating this position. So if you have a contract for buy, you will enter into a contract for sell for the same 100 kilograms of wheat. So this 100 kilogram of buy and 100 kilogram of sell will cancel out, and you don't have any delivery obligations on the exchange platform. But whatever is the price difference between buy and sell, you will have to give it on the exchange platform. This is how the futures work. And this is called the option of squaring off, or the cash settlement. Now this is a standardized method of settlement in the futures contract. That is why this contract has been structured like that. In forwards, you had to honor that commitment. In futures, some flexibility is given to you to exit from the contract in case you don't have the quality that is mandated by the exchange, or you had a crop failure, or by some reason you are not able to deliver on the exchange platform. Now the pricing is very, very rigid in the structure. You have entered for buying at say 100 rupees, then you will get only 100 rupees. You won't get the upside of it. So in other words, what I am saying here is that in a forward contracting structure, the parties will have to be content with reasonable returns. Now come to the third contracting structure, which is more like an insurance contract. By the insurance, you pay a premium, and then you get a cover for your accidents or life-threatening diseases. So this is similar to an insurance contract. And this is, I would say, a market-based MSP. Here in option contracting, you are saying that, okay, it's like a futures contract only because you are agreeing to buy or sell. Here it is buy or sell at some particular price at a particular point in time in future. But when the expiry comes, you have a choice. Either you can exercise this contract or you can just walk away. You need not have to honor that commitment there. So it gives you an option, a choice. That is why it is called as an option contract. Now, there are two kinds of contracts there. One which gives you a right to buy, which is called the call option. Call means, you can call for the party who is holding that instrument can call for the delivery. Okay. So the option holder has the right to buy from the option writer. And in case of put option, you have a right to sell to the option writer. Option writer has no choice. He will have to honor the commitment, but it is only for the holder this flexibility exists. And this is the most flexible structure which is available to a farmer, because after paying this premium and getting this contract, he can just forget. He has brought up price insurance. This is similar to that. And then he can concentrate on his farming. So once the risk of price uncertainty is taken out from his head, then he can focus on reducing his cost and thereby increasing his margin. This is how the behavioral economics play here. Now, this is possible, and at the same time, it is possible for him to gain from the upside movements in price. Imagine on the expiry day, the spot market, the market outside the exchange is giving him a higher return, a higher price. Then he will not go into the exchange space and deliver. He will just deliver it in the spot market and will gain from the upside. Now, in futures and options, the beauty is that, as I said, there is a squaring off. There is a possibility of doing financial hedge. After entering into a commitment, you can always walk out of that commitment if you can find another buyer for this. In this way, you are transferring your risk from one person to another. Now, look at it from the perspective of FCI or NAFED, who are the procurement agencies of the government. Now, see, procurement agencies, bulk of the cost is not coming from just procurement. Procurement, they are procuring at the MSP price, okay, which would be higher than what is there in the ruling market price at that point in time. Because it's not mandated for everyone to come and deliver deliver to the FCA and NAFED at MSP prices. There are occasions when actually the prices go skyrocketing, okay? But at that time also, FCA and NAFED is forced to purchase. Why? Because they give you the grains through the midday meal scheme, then they supply grains to the military. So FCA and NAFED is continuously entrusted with the task of procuring grains. Whether sometimes they would be able to do that at MSP, but at times when MSP is not prevalent in the market, they will have to go for a market-based procurement, which is actually pretty costly for them. So all these agencies, without maintaining warehouses, they can actually enter into contract and thereby give some assurance to the farmers. And at the same time, they can walk out of the contract at a later point in time by transferring their risk to somebody else. This is the beauty of this contracting structure. And this way, it would reduce the cost of operation for your procurement agencies if they know how to get into the play. So to summarize, these are contracting structures. Some major features I have mentioned to you. In total, the derivative market essentially helps you in two objectives. One is price discovery. Price discovery is discovering the price of a particular product, particular commodity at a future point in time. It gives you an approximate level of prices and it gives you a major direction in which prices are moving. So this is the price discovery function of this market. You might have heard quite a lot of announcements by government to generate price forecast in the market. No econometric model or statistical model can give you a price forecast. The best price forecast comes from your futures market or from your derivative markets, because people have committed their money to that position. So this is the best available price forecast that you can have for your market. Then the next one, the major objective is hedging. Hedging means, this is a common word that we use, which is nothing but...
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yeah.
And your slides are not changing. I think it's because you're putting in now it's okay. Since you put, when you put it in the slideshow, the slides won't change unless you are presenting your entire screen.
Okay. Then you didn't see this one also.
Now it's fine, ma'am.
Okay. So I had mentioned that there are various ways of handling price risk management. MSP was there, price insurance is another method, contract farming was there. Then comes the derivative. In derivatives, you have got 2-3 different styles of contracting. In forwards, you have to have a committed delivery. In futures and options, you can walk out of that commitment midway through. And in that way, you get the flexibility to handle your crop failures and loss of quality in your production. Or for procurement agencies, without touching the commodity, without maintaining major warehouses, they can still give price assurance to the farmers. So these are the basic features that you have to observe from this slide. Then, this is visible to you, adequately visible, this one, the screen?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So then I said there are two major objectives. One is price discovery, which is actually giving you a forecast of your prices, which gives you a direction in which your prices are moving. Accordingly, you can take some decisions. And then it protects you from an adverse movement in price, which is what we call as the price risk management or the hedging. So if you have got if you're a farmer, you have to sell into the market. So you take an opposite position. You buy a futures market so that you can sell into the market. So it is always a position opposite to what your exposure is. Now, what is the benefit of all this, from the discussion that is emerging? Now, when you have a contracting structures like this, you need not have to pile up your inventory. So it will give you better control over your inventory and helps you in reducing your cost. Now, in this way, I would always say that, the futures market is actually a public good. Why do I say that? Because even when you're not participating in the market, the futures prices always ticker on that screen. Okay, anybody can look at that screen and say, okay, for maize, 3 months down the line, we are having a better price. So I can always decide my plot of land, I can allocate either between wheat or to maize. So maize is giving me better returns than wheat. So I will go and cultivate maize. So it is basically solving that major important question in economics, allocation of farmland. You look at it from the perspective of a stockist. I have got a storage space, or I'm a farmer, I'm keeping prices are not even attractive in this market. I will look at the futures market and say, okay, 3 months down the line, I see some uptick in the market price. So should I keep this in storage and then deliver at that point in time so that I can increase my return? So it gives you signals about how you should be handling your commodity. But the real returns would come in if you're able to enter the market and lock in at that level, so that then you do not have to worry about anything. So in that way, it reduces the slump in agri prices, which often happens when the when the harvest comes. Everybody's harvest comes at the same time. Okay, so that is why the farmers are always worried. When you have bumper production, you have the curse of lower prices. But when there is a futures market facility or the derivative contracting structures, if that is available to the stockist, he would gladly procure that stock from you, because he then knows how to protect himself from adverse movements in price at a future point in time. So in essence, I would say that this market helps you to reduce volatility in the market. Now look at the graph on your right side. I have drawn two pictures. I mean, this is not as I've just drawn it for explaining or simplifying matters to you. The black one shows prices with futures market. So it might rise. The futures prices would give you a signal in advance, and then it will rise earlier than the spot market, and it will flatten out earlier than your spot market if you have that derivative structures available to you. So you will have a flattened curve, essentially. Now, looking at this graph, many of the researchers often commit the mistake by saying that, oh, futures is leading the spot prices. They are causing speculation in the market. My answer to them would be, see, if futures is not leading the spot, then futures is of no use. If the spot and futures are not taking that feedback loop, then the markets are not right. They're meant to take signals from each other and then, culminate into a protective market for the players. So let me tell you, this market is essentially for reducing volatility in prices, and it does not prevent the occurrence of inflation or deflation. So next time when you hear somebody saying, oh, futures market is causing this inflation, or futures market is actually causing this prices to crash in the market, please don't believe them. It does not prevent inflation or deflation, but it will protect you from such inflation or deflation. So is there any evidence to prove that there has the markets helps you in reducing volatility? So how do you do this exercise? There are two ways in which you can look at it. You can the first method is you look at it from the period during the volatility during when the markets were functioning, a derivative market was functioning, and the period when the markets were not there. So another method is you look at some commodity which is actually traded in the exchange, say like for instance chana, and then compare it with close substitutes like urad dal, the udunille doshakku ubhayikana. So that dal is a close substitute considered to be. So look at these kind of products and see where the volatility is higher. And historically, time and again, people had been finding that the volatility for traded products is less than the volatility for non-traded products. But despite all these benefits, we had a frequent suspension of trading in the market. Okay, this market is very old. I'll come to that in a while. Every bout of inflation has seen markets being suspended. So the last suspension you would have seen was in 2007-8 time when the prices skyrocketed. Now in between August and December, you might have witnessed, or at least you would have seen from newspaper, a series of products have been banned from trading. So there is a near freeze or paralysis of commodity markets in the agri sector right now. And many of those products which got suspended for more than 6 months, I would say that, we could never gain back that liquidity or volume in those markets later on. And some of the products like, tuwar, urad, rice, many of them were banned somewhere in 2007 and still not open for trading. Now, why people do this? Why officials do this? Because for us, level of price is the concern rather than the quality of price discovery. So many feel that regulators are arbitrarily suspending trading with sudden notices. Even when the prices are below the MSP even. For instance, this time when the chana was suspended, the price was actually, chana was suspended probably because reasons are not out in the public domain, probably because of the rising price in the market. But chana prices particularly was trading below MSP even. But then regulators suspended it. So this was coming out of that fearful expectation that prices would soon be crossing the limit. So let me take a preventive action. And this is the easiest market for you to switch down, because, like a switch on off, you can shut down this market, but you won't be able to do that in the wider spot market. The market will keep on functioning, because your police is not there to monitor whether somebody is transacting or not. So regulation is more aimed at, this is an unfortunate situation right now in India. So regulation is more aimed at depressing the spot price of the commodity, and it's not focused on increasing the hedging efficiency of your contracts or the hedging utility of your contracts. So rather than economics, I would say politics is something which is ruling this market. And this distrust comes from many factors. This is the traditional distrust that I'm talking about. I'm not talking about any particular government or any particular regime or a particular sect of community or people. This is something which is widely prevalent, because people think that derivative markets has to mandatorily deliver the commodity. But you will see that in futures contract, only 2 to 3% is delivered, because that is how the contract is designed. You will have to get out of the market, and there is a flexibility to do cash settlement. So people say that there is no delivery happening in the market. So the market is useless if a fairly large volume of production is not delivered on the platform. Some people accuse it for having low participation from farmers or hedgers. I had mentioned, this is a public good. Even if farmers are not directly participating, still they get the price signals correctly. Now there is a lot of apprehension, as I mentioned, this is causing inflation, this is causing deflation, this is leading to a lot of volatility in the market, etc. And also we think that, if government is intervening in the agri market, say in the form of imposition of stock limits or, by stipulating minimum export price, ban on imports, ban on exports. There are a lot of interventions that government does in agri market. So when there are interventions, many say that the derivative trading cannot be promoted. We will come to all of these arguments at a later point in time when I marshal out some of the evidence to you. And then, of course, you have this, oligopolistic. Oligopoly means, a market which is concentrated with a very few sellers. They either come in as a cartel or, and then try to perpetuate their interest into the market, or they impose their wishes onto the policymakers. So they also come and say that, they lose the pricing power when the derivative markets comes in. I will tell you why. Because imagine you have a very high price level situation, okay? Now somebody has to change that psychology of expectations there, inflationary expectations there. And who is the guy who can do that? Without having a commodity in the hand, a short seller can actually start selling at that point in time and make the curve come down. So the prices had been rising at some point. Some derivative trader would say, oh, this is too much. The prices have risen too much. Let me start selling at this point. And when he starts selling, then is when the prices start coming down. So the only guy in the market who can change this expectation of price is your short seller, is your speculator. So banning him from the market, you actually let the market, levitate on that one-sided price movements for a longer time than you actually wanted for it to be. Now, what does this? I said, this is a century-old prejudice that we are having. Let us look at some of these historical roots of speculation. I'm mainly talking to you from some of the old parliamentary debates and some of the old records which are kept in the national archives. Now, you might be thinking that derivative is a new weapon of mass destruction that has been invented in the post-2000 period, which is actually not true. Now, if you read Aristotle Politics, this is written somewhere in 350 BC, okay? So that mentions the story of Thales. Thales was a philosopher, a lazy philosopher at that time. So he used to say that, oh, if I want to be rich, I can always be rich, and he presents an analogy. He says that, by looking at the star movement and all, he is able to predict whether there would be a surplus olive production in that year or not. And there are only very few olive presses in Greece. So what he does is that by predicting whether there would be a good production of olives or not, he will go and rent out all these olive presses for a premium by paying a small amount. At that time, off season, you are entering into the market. You tell the olive press owners that, I'm taking your press for a rent. I'll give you some small amount. Basically, this is an option kind of a structure. And when the real surplus production happens, then this guy is the king. He can rent it out for the price that he wants to do it. So Aristotle takes out this episode to say that, even philosophers can be rich if they really want to be. Now look at some of the similar documents that was written around the same time. Arthashastra, our own document, Indian document. So there is a paragraph. I have used Rangarajan's translation here. So it is clearly about futures market in existence at that point in time. So here, the Arthashastra, Kautilya is saying, chief controller of state trading shall fix price for trade in futures, that is, goods to be received at a future date or at a different place, after taking into account the investment, the quantity to be delivered, duty, interest, rent, and other expenses. Essentially, he was saying you have to consider all these factors when you are talking about fixing prices for the futures. So India had a very vibrant system of trading in the past, before independence even. See, organized trading happened only in 1875. That was when the Bombay Stock Exchange was established. On the same year, you had a Bombay Cotton Exchange also. So, and it was very actively traded in those days. So I would say that you are now only familiar with equity derivatives, but commodity derivative is the first derivative that we had in this country. And even though we don't have estimates of volume at that time, if you actually take into account the amount that is delivered through the exchange, you would see that there has been quite a few amount of deliveries happening through the, a substantial portion of the production in cotton was being delivered through the exchange. Then we came up with our regulator FMC, Forward Markets Commission, in 1950s, and then we had frequent suspensions, and with that, naturally, we had a death of this market happening, and this continued till year 2003, especially since liberalization. In 1991, we started rethinking about commodity market, but the actual liberalization happened in commodity markets much later, in 2003. So this is how a market which was very vibrant in India got killed with our excessive concern on speculation. Now this, a very good deal of confusion about the role of speculation comes up because of law. Now there was some committee which was set up in 1967. It's called Dantwala Committee. You will not find any report in public domain. This is a small, sleek report which is lying in the shelves of some of the government libraries. This is a very beautiful report. I mean, it's written very frankly and candidly, and laying bare where the fault lines are. Now, Dantwala Committee said your law itself is at fault. Your law is only talking about forward markets, whereas what is actually being traded on the exchange is a futures market. So the law at that point in time, Forward Contracts Regulation Act of 1952, it's all about forward contracts. There is not even a single word of futures, even though the law was brought in to regulate the futures trading in the market. And remember, I told you, forward is something where settlement has to happen with delivery. So it is a 100% delivery-based product. Whereas futures is a product which gives you an exit option midway through the contract. So the delivery is only around 2 to 3% of the volume traded. And why we have insisted on delivery on the expiry day of the contract is that because otherwise the convergence between the spot and the futures would not come in. Otherwise, both will be parallel market. So if the futures market gives you a higher price, people from the spot market will come and deliver on the exchange platform. That is why we say that on the expiry day, mandatorily it has to be settled with physical delivery. So the contracts which last that long, that would be only around 2 to 3% of the volume traded, which results in physical delivery. Others would be doing a cash settlement and getting out. And by cash settlement, what I mean is, I said you can enter into an opposite contract. So the difference between the actual current market price, spot price, and the price at which you contracted, that difference is what you pay to the exchange. So settlement of this was considered as speculation in those days. Even now, people consider this as speculation. So that is why a whole lot of confusion about speculation in market is coming in. Now, if you look into the history, the first official accusation comes in 1990. See, this is the period after the World War, First World War. First World War saw a lot of commodity, any war is associated with price in commodities. Look at the present Russia-Ukraine war. The wheat prices are soaring, because Russia was the major producer of many of the commodities. The base metal prices are soaring. So the similar situation happened in 1914-19 First World War time also. At that time, Britain was very much worried that, America will not supply cotton to Britain. Britain, doesn't have a fertile land for cultivating cotton, but then it has got all the mills on the world. Lancashire is the, major market for cotton there. Textile industry is all based there. Now, they were worried that America will stop supplies to them. So they wanted India to be a producer of long staple cotton. And this committee, Mackina's committee, Indian Cotton Committee otherwise called, Mackina was the then equivalent of our chief economic advisor right now. He was the agricultural advisor to government of India, the British government of India. So he was mandated to come up with a report exploring how long staple cotton could be enhanced in production in Indian territory. So on the sidelines of that report, he got some support from the mill owners of India, Nasli Wadia and all those, Bombay dyeing guys. Those people were actually part of the, Mackina's committee. And then they said that, then they wrote the report from the mill owners' perspective, because Britain itself is a big mill owner, I would say. So they said that, there is a great speculation in the market. The prices of cotton are pretty high because of speculation. So people are all trading in paper contracts, and we should come in at this point in time. That is how the first regulator was put in for the regulation of cotton trading. This is called the Cotton Contracts Committee or something, set up in 1921, a predecessor of your FMC and SEBI. Now, this committee was an infamous one because, they imposed cotton cess and all. So one side product of this committee was the regulation in forward markets. And with that regulation, you would remember, this was the situation. You come in with the regulator and finally the markets all crashed. So another aspect of, this moral, the market as an immoral place, comes from the resurrection of the gambling laws. In many places, the legislators did not see the difference between a derivative trading or a forward trading and gambling. So they resurrected Public Gambling Act and then tried to control the damage caused by forward trading. For instance, in 1927, if you look at central provinces, which is presently the UP side, so they put in an amendment to the Public Gambling Act of 1867. This is a British era law, which is still continuing now. And there a reference is made to satta gambling. Satta is agricultural, derivative thing. See the way in which they are using, they consider it as gambling only. So an amendment was made for, banning betting on prices of cotton, opium, or any other commodity. So this moral positioning against gambling and the despise for speculation is something which has continued over the years, post-independence also. See, till this point in time, it was only morality that we had to contend, the market had to contend with. Now comes the philosophy of it. Come to post-independence, we have adopted a new philosophy called planning. Now, if you look into the parliamentary debates of that time, actually you should, as students, you should read some of those post-independent parliamentary debates. You would understand the depth to which our parliamentarians actually go and debate about issues in the market. See, that time was also a single party rule. Okay. But then their party members itself would come with strong criticism to the policy bills that were brought in by the government. So when planning was adopted, people couldn't reconcile between planning and this, market-based price discovery. So many of them felt that, it is neither economic or not productive, so you should ban it. But then, one surprising aspect about is that many of the MPs from Kerala at that time, they were in great support for a regulation rather than a banning. They came in support for regulation. And for us now, it would look very surprising. But Kerala had a lot of trading in pepper, in spices, in coconut oil, copra. So many goods were actually being traded heavily. Now you don't see any of these being traded in Kerala. So one of the interesting comments of one of our MPs, I would quote here, speculation is a wish expressed to confirm the future to our present desires. And planning is our will to make the future conform to our present desires. Are we to give ourselves up to wishful thinking, or are we to give ourselves up to willful planning? Is the question in Forward Contract Regulation Amendment Act Bill. Okay, so this is the way in which our own MPs argued in the parliament. Now, Anna Mascarin, other member from Kerala, she was sitting in the opposition benches at that time, but yet she supported the bill. Another member was A.M. Thomas. He represented Cochin, where coconut oil trading was quite prevalent. So they all give narratives in the parliament about why it is so important to have that kind of an instrument in the market. Otherwise, farmers will not have any assurity on the prices that they will get at a future time when the harvest comes due. So now what is the consequence for all these obsessions with speculation, or the moral, the despise for speculation for the agri-marketing? Now, the most important part that I would say is on the policy side. All the laws that we have brought in to regulate the market. The first one was pre-independent period legislation, which is called the Bombay Forward Contracts Control Act. See, the word itself is control. It's not even about regulation. And then its successor, Forward Contracts Regulation Act. All of them provided for either regulation or control or even prohibition. Now, option in goods. I said option is one of the most favorable structures for contracting as far as a farmer is concerned. Because with very small amount, by paying a small premium amount, he can get that right to sell in the market when the harvest comes in. But then this product was banned by law since 1952. And only when SEBI opened up in 2016 that we started having a product called options. And this was banned particularly because, they thought that this is an undesirable form of speculation. because with very small amount, you can come into the market and bet big. So we thought that this is undesirable, and then we banned it. Now, another complication was that we never empowered a regulator like FMC. See, I understand. I'm talking about 1950s. FMC was not the first regulator, first independent regulator. At that time, there was Tariff Commission also. Government equipped Tariff Commission with adequate powers, but they didn't do that with Forward Markets Commission. Why? Because they were scared that the traders are a very powerful lobby and they will come and sit in the FMC and misguide the market. So they made FMC only as an advisory body. If you look into the Forward Contract Regulation Act structure, FMC was just an advisory body. It was not a real regulator in that sense of the term as we understand right now. And this legal gridlock continued for decades. Okay, many government committees came in between. They all recommended that FCRA should be overhauled and we should make FMC a full-fledged regulator. But no amendments could be carried out to the FCRA, except for some few amendments in the 1971. This was further tightening of definition of spot contract, which essentially mentioned that if you do a cash settlement, I will not treat this contracting as a spot contract. Now, I don't think there is any other bill other than this FCRA which has gone into Parliament so many times for an amendment and then it could not be done. So in 1998, 2006, 2008, 2010, 4 times we entered the Parliament and we tried to do amendments to FCRA, but we could not do because there was a lot of agitation about speculation. Now in 2008, we tried our luck with an ordinance. But the ordinance, as you know, it has got validity only for 6 months. But then after 6 months, it expired. We couldn't pass the law at that point in time. Then we came with a new law, 2010. But then there was a parliamentary standing committee which came out exactly on all those points that we mentioned earlier, all those prejudices. It is causing inflation. There are no farmers participating. There is low level of delivery in the market. So this market is of no use. Why should we be empowering FCRA? And we should just shut it down. This was a stand taken by the Parliamentary Standing Committee at that time. So only in 2015, we repealed FCRA and then we merged FMC with SEBI. That is when the real reforms in the market started. So essentially, because of all these concerns, we stunted the growth of the market. Now look at equity market. It is something which started as recent as 2000. Okay, equity derivative market is one of the most prominent markets in the whole world. Your Nifty contract is one of the most traded contracts in the globe. USD INR contract is the most traded currency contract in the world. Now, your equity derivative market is, rich with wide variety of participants like banks, mutual funds, FPIs. All these people are participating in the market, and there is great liquidity and balance in that market. Now, that is not the case with your commodity derivatives market, even though it is of, Arthashastra vintage. Now, this kind of interventions by government always dissuaded participants from the real sector in getting into the market and availing a price risk management. Now, compare India with China. China's commodity regulation started somewhere only in 1992. Okay, but then they gave a lot of flexibility to the participants. They attracted the foreign participants to come and do trading in yuan, in their currency, in the domestic markets, in commodities. In fact, China has gone and acquired London Metal Exchange. Now it is London only in the name. The real owner is Hong Kong Exchange and Clearing Corporation Limited. So in the process, China has become now a major price setter for any of the commodities here. And imagine India is a major consumer or a producer or exporter or importer of the commodities. Yet we are nowhere in the picture for setting the price of these commodities. We are just taking price which are determined in other exchanges. Why should that be the case here? So this emphasis on speculation, led us to just control the mechanisms of market, and we got feared by the price signals. Yes, some market is something which tells truth to the power. Okay, yes, there is inflation. Inflation is unpalatable to me, but then I was not able to, government was not able to adjust or digest that, price signal that is emanating from the market, and instead we shot down the messenger here. Now, was this of any real benefit to the market? We suspended markets because, we thought that inflation will come down. Now, look at some of the recent episodes that we had, episodes of suspension that we had. as in the past. I can give you examples from the past as well. The same kind of graphs you would see. Prices will go the way in which they want to go. Like for instance, soya oil and crude palm oil, because of the Russian-Ukraine war, and the prices have gone up substantially. Now look at the way in which prices are moving, even when there is no commodity trading happening, because in December we suspended the trading. Even after that, the prices have been rising. So it is not the futures market which has led to that increase in prices. Prices will move based on their own demand and supply fundamentals. Same is the case with soya bean. And in mustard, this when it was banned, almost that flattening had already happened there. The short sellers have started coming in and started punting down the betting down the market, and it continued in that territory for some more time. And there is no significant change that you can see in the prices of these products, even though we have suspended the futures market. But then there is one benefit. If government wants to communicate to the general public that, okay, I am committed to fighting inflation, then, like switching on and off a bulb or something, you can switch off the market. So it has a signaling effect. Otherwise, on the ground, evidence is not really solid to say that these measures have been effective. And this has been the case throughout. I'll get you some of the historical anecdotes from various committees which have studied this issue of suspension. Now, I told you, what the ultimate consequence of this is that when you frequently come and suspend the product, the real sector participants will not come into the market, because they know that, beach may, in between government will come and ban it. So why should I enter into a contract there? I'm better without, having a contract. So in many of the commodities, actually, we intervened. You will see that, the liquidity could never, come up to that extent. See the way in which we had, the volumes in the market and how it crashed over a period of time. So, I mentioned, the suspensions and interventions were not really achieving the objectives for which, we did all these things. Now look at the comments of Dantwala Committee in 1967. He said regulatory actions by the FMC by and large only serve the purpose of reducing the volume of trading and open positions in the forward markets. It did not check the rise in spot prices, if that was the intention. Often, the only visible impact of the restraint was to distort the relation between the spot and futures prices, rendering futures market unsuitable for hedging. They could then only be used for speculation. This is exactly what is happening over a period of time. We have destroyed the utility of our derivative markets and made it totally unsuitable for participants. Unless the real sector players like FCI or NAFED or Cargill or any such commodity player, ITC, these people would come and hit your market unless and only if they have a certainty that government will not come halfway through and short circuit the market. Now, if you look into the data, you will see that over a period of 10 years, there has been a 10 percentage point reduction in the participation by value chain entities. And this is all happening in the agri market, because we had been intervening quite a lot in the agri market. Now, a couple of years back, SEBI mandated that all the listed companies should disclose in their annual report where all they are taking their commodity hedging. Reliance is a very successful company in India. Do you know that Reliance hedged 40% of their oil imports, whereas our Indian Oil Corporation hedged nothing? 40%. You can look into their annual report and see. So where is all this hedge? They're not hedging in India. They're hedging abroad. You take the top 100 companies in India, and if you look into the annual report, nobody has compiled it so far. I had made one of my intern, study these annual reports. Once SEBI came out with this stipulation, I asked him to, look into that annual report and give me an account of, how many people are hedging, first of all, because many of these are commodity players. So how many of them are hedging? And if they are hedging, were they are hedging? And to my surprise, or probably I anticipated that is the case, many of them are hedging only in the foreign venues. Not even a single person had hedged in India. Now, these interventions have all led to a structural shift in our derivatives market. See, your derivatives can be structured on commodity, on interest rate, on equity, on currency. Look at the structure in 2011-12 and look at the structure in 2021-22. Now only you have equity, because that is where the least amount of interventions have happened. Now commodity is 0.56%. Is that even a percentage to say? Okay, so the gradual destruction of the commodity markets is something which we all should be worried if we are really concerned about the price risk management of our farmers. Now look at the worst performing sector, agri commodities. 2005-6 is the year that I have taken, because in 2003-4 we liberalized the market. A lot of commodities were brought into trading, and the market reached its peak or stabilized somewhere around 2005-6. So if you take 2005-6 as the beginning year, agri commodities accounted for 52% of the total commodity derivatives volume there. Now look at the percentage, just 4.66%. This is last year's. Now, August to December, you had witnessed a series of suspensions in the market. So I'm sure this percentage is further going to come down. So there is a steady erosion of markets from agri derivatives to other things. Even inside the agri markets, people are not creating contracts for food materials, cereals and all, because chances of interventions are more. So they are actually going for industrial goods like gore seed. Gore seed is something which you use for natural gas fructification and all. So fracking, natural gas fracking. So industrial products is what generally the agri segment right now comprises of. So this over the years, we have actually, this blue line is agri market, and this is how our agri markets have come down in market share over the period of time. And this has also affected the viability of agri exchanges. See, some of the exchanges are specialized in agriculture commodities. Some are in non-agri commodities. Like for instance, you have an exchange called multi-commodity exchange. It's one of the leading exchanges in India. MCX it is called. They are specialized in mostly the non-agri products like crude oil, natural gas, like that. So MCX market share over a period of time. See, NCDX in 2005, she had somewhere around 49% market share. Now NCDX is how much? 3.46% in 2021. And many of the regional exchanges like Hapur, and Rajkot exchange, all these were exchanges which were concentrated on agri commodities only. All of them have exited. There were other reasons also for their exit from the market, because nationalized exchanges came in, screen-based trading started. So these exchanges were also not able to upgrade their infrastructure to match that of NSE or BSE. Even the new exchanges that have come in after, the matters came to SEBI's fold, BSE and NSE, both of them are also focused only on the non-agri commodities. Nobody is even daring to open an agri contract in this country. And as a policymaker, I am mostly worried about this tendencies that is developing in the market. Now, by this time, you would be thinking that, okay, fine, speculation is to an extent good only. But then, excessive speculation is still bad. Now, I would ask you to quantify what is this excessive speculation. We have no proper definition of speculation anywhere in securities laws. The only definition that we have is in the Income Tax Act. Income Tax Act defines speculation as, a transaction where you settle a contract without delivery of the underlying commodity or an equity or whatever is the underlying of your derivative. Now, even though there is no delivery in the equity derivatives market, we have qualified it as a non-speculative transaction. Now, this non-speculative transaction status was given for commodity derivatives market only in 2013. That was the year in which a new tax was imposed on the commodity derivatives market, akin to what is there in the equity derivatives market. Equity has got security transaction tax. In commodities, we have commodity transaction tax. Now, what is the consequence of being assigned a speculative status in the income tax parlance? Now, you can, speculate if you have got speculative income coming from the hedging or from the derivative transaction, then you will have to file a different kind of IT return, because then you are considered as doing a business transaction. Then, in income tax, you have a provision like, if you have suffered some losses, then you can deduct that losses from your gains. But in case of speculative incomes, you can deduct that loss only from the gains that are coming out of speculative transaction. So there is no cross-sector margining or, cross-sector deductions possible in this thing. So it is very costly for anybody to enter into such kind of transaction. Actually, I'm just wondering, why should even we be concerned about, this kind of speculation, this kind of a definition for speculation? If some transaction is happening on the exchange platform, we should ideally be considering it as a transaction on the exchange platform only, rather than characterizing it as speculation or non-speculation. Now, another way of measuring whether we have, more of speculative interest in market is by taking a simple ratio of open interest to turnover. Turnover is your volume in the market. Open interest is the contracts that are remaining open in the market. See, I told you, you can exit anytime in between the maturity of a contract, right? So you can buy in the morning, you can sell in the afternoon, then you don't have any delivery obligations, you have squared off or you have walked out of that market. What remains open is what is calculated in the term open interest. Now, if open interest is more, then that means, more and more value chain participants or real sector players are there in the market, because, these are the people who would like to ultimately settle that contract with physical delivery of the commodity. Now, this is better than the global standards here. Global standard is even below 1. We have in agri commodities a ratio of 2, and in agri commodities NCDEX it is somewhere around 10 and 20, somewhere in that range. 20 was an abnormal thing, because in the COVID time all the markets were frozen. So the volumes came down, but then the open interest remained there. So that is why you see a spike in that 2019-20 time. But otherwise, it's generally in the range of 10 for agri markets. Non-agri, you can't deliver crude oil on an exchange platform. It's very difficult. So it is only cash settlement there. So you have a lower delivery rate for non-agri commodities, which is around 2 to 3%. Another way of looking at the speculation is to really assess how many hedgers are there in the market. Now, let me also alert you that we have codes assigned to participants. You are a hedger, you are a proprietary trader, you are a broker, you are a client of a broker. So like that, we have assigned codes to participants. But many people do not avail the hedger code, because hedger code comes with a lot of obligations. You get a lot of benefits also. If you are a hedger, then you are liable for the position limit. Position limits means, in an exchange, we will see to that, one player does not dominate the market. So maximum exposure that one player can take would be, say, around 5% of the total market turnover. If it crosses, then his trading will stop there. So this is how we control for, cartelization and all in the organized market. But then in the hedgers does not have these restrictions. If you prove that you have got commodity lying in your warehouse, you can take positions to that extent. But then it comes with a lot of compliance requirements. You have to monitor your positions and all. In non-agri commodities, you have got a liberal position limit. Like 5 tons of gold is what is given to you for a day. And 5 tons is quite a few. I mean, it's gold. We are talking about gold. Okay, that's a huge amount for them. So not many people go and take the hedger code. So what we have is the client code. They come in as clients, SMEs, the farmers' parties organizations. All these guys come as clients of the proprietary traders. So by looking at their percentage, we can see whether more and more hedges are coming out or not. As I mentioned earlier, in the last 10 years, we have seen bulk of the clients moving out of the agri market. So this has reduced from 63 to 57%. At some point in time, it had even reduced to 50%. Now, another way of looking at it is WDR. You are aware of this regulator called Warehouse Development and Regulatory Authority. So this is the regulator set up for monitoring the warehouses in the country. Now, in the SEBI space, in the securities market, we have a rule that if you're delivering on the exchange platform, you can only deliver through the warehouse accredited by WDRA. Now, because of this rule, most of the warehouses which are regulated by WDRA are also accredited by the exchanges for delivery. Now, if you look at one statistics, this is an interesting statistic. 99% of the electronic negotiable warehouse receipts issued by WDRA are for exchange-based deliveries only. This is one example that I often cite as how markets galvanize reforms in the real sector. I have often heard many people saying that, you should have this derivative markets only when the other infrastructures are all in place. Now, I tell them, your warehousing infrastructure came up only because of derivative trading. Because even before WDRA came in only around 2007. Okay, so we had the commodity derivatives even before that. And SEBI exchanges, it was stipulated that, and WDRA didn't have much volumes after 2007 also. In 2013, SEBI mandated that all the deliveries will have to be made through the WDRA accredited warehouses also. But before that itself, exchange was accrediting warehouses. So NCDX, MCX, all these exchanges had their own set of warehouses, very professionally run warehouses. So exchange was considered as the premium quality delivery center for commodities. Now, all these warehouses also got finally accredited by the WDRA. So if you look at that statistics, you will see that 27% of the WDRA exchange warehouses are also exchange accredited. Now, if you are assuming a 40% average capacity utilization for these exchanges, then you will arrive at a figure that 12% of your accredited space is potentially used for hedging activities in the exchanges. So this proves the power of derivative trading to galvanize real reforms in the real sector, contrary to what the parliamentary committee has been asking for. So another way to look at it is, to find out what is the ratio of spot to derivatives. In equity market, it is very easy to calculate because, in equity, stock trading and derivative trading happens in the same place. But so we have, calculated for global exchanges, and India is definitely an outlier here. Okay, we have a very high percentage. But then I will come to the reasons for that. We are not able to calculate this figure for the local commodity exchanges because our sport is widely spread across different markets. Now, when you grow up as a researcher, probably you could look into GST and database. GST and database would give you a indicator of how transactions are happening in the market. Okay, so based on that, you could probably say, okay, in chena, in wheat, in sugar, this much is the quantity that is traded, and then come out with the ratio between spot and derivatives. Now, roughly around, we say that another way of looking at it is, since we don't have the spot volumes of commodities readily available, you can look at the concept called velocity of money. Velocity of money is published by RBI. This is the number of times in which, cash turns hand. 1 rupee in my hand, how many times 1 rupee changes from my hand to, say, other participants in the economy. Now, basically, commodity transaction is something which happens with cash. So I consider velocity of money, which is coming in the range of 9 to 11, as the number of times your derivative transaction would be higher. Now, you would higher than at least in the spot transaction. Now, one problem with our derivative market is that, our contracting structures are liquid only in the near month. That in the first month, for the first month, it is very liquid. If you have a contract for the 2 months, 3 months duration, they are not that liquid or that, productive. So our outer limit is the 24 by that calculation. That is because, if you have, say, some commodity in your warehouse, and only your near month, first month contract is active. So you enter into that is where the cost of entry is very lower. So you enter into a contract, then you square off, you exit from that. And like that, for 1 year, if you have to keep it, you have a buy contract and sell contract in 1 month. So 12 into 2, 24 is the maximum number of contracts that you can have compared to what your spot transaction of that one, a certain amount of commodity lying in your warehouse. I have also attempted to find out, what is this ratio of agricultural production, because this is something which often people mistake for. They say that, our derivative volumes is 10 times the production, etc. That is a very wrong metrics to adopt, because, that after production, the commodity goes through multiple chains. There is the wholesaler, then after multiple retailers, it ultimately reaches the consumer. So there is a long chain of participants in between. Now, on an average, I would see that, after a long period average, if you take, only 0.7% is the, not even production. Only for these commodities, I have taken the total production and found out what is the volume traded in the market. It's a paltry, sum. It's not even above 1. So unless it is a multiple of production, you cannot say that your market is actually liquid. And that is the reason why people are going abroad and doing the hedging. Now, one of the government committees had specified a target of 10 times of production. Now, that target is achieved for only a handful of commodities. not in any of the agri commodities particularly. And if you take that velocity of money calculation, 11 times of spot trading, then only 3 commodities cross that ratio. So same is the case with, another ratio that I'm trying to find out. How much of, what is the delivery happening through the exchange platform? In many of the liquid contracts, you won't see much of delivery happening because it is not needed at all. There is a perfect convergence with the spot market, and hence you need not have to deliver into the market. The profit in your spot market is the same as your losses in the futures market, and vice versa. That is how the markets function. So you need not have to deliver. There is convergence. The higher ratio you would see for illiquid contract, when you suspended 50% got delivered through the exchange platform itself. Here again, cotton, there is no trading thereafter. Maize, a substantial percent. There were some issues with the maize contract during that time, and you see that a substantial portion had to be physically delivered on the exchange platform. So if you're taking delivery as the benchmark for a successful contract or a successful derivative market, I would say that is a very misplaced concern. Now, a reasonably good percentage get delivered for certain commodities like pepper, castor seed, coriander, some of these commodities which are traded on the market. Now, a high amount of delivery is possible on different circumstances. Now, imagine the price is moving in just one single direction, a one-sided steady movement. Then you won't be able to exit by a favorable opposite position. You are entered into a buy, then if you have to buy a sell contract, you won't be able to get it at a favorable price. Now, in that case, the best option available to the participant is to deliver on the exchange platform and get out. So generally, when you have one-sided movements, you will see a lot of deliveries happening on the exchange platform. And then another instance that I can tell you is excess deliveries happen on the exchange platform when there is an attempted squeeze by one or two participants. Imagine some products like castor seed. Okay, it's a very childly produced, a limited sized commodity available in the market. Now, a few players in the spot market, bought up the entire market arrivals of that time. Spot market is also ridden with a lot of such, frauds and manipulations. You should be mindful of that. So these spot market players, what they did is, they cornered all this. They took all that cream, all the production was cornered by them. And then they came into the market and took positions. They were basically squeezing the other counterparty to buy from them and then deliver on the exchange at a higher price. So this was detected by SEBI, and then, some penalty was imposed on the participants. Now, take the case of pepper, which is something Keralites are familiar with. In the pepper, exchange specification were completely different from the FSSI food standards specifications. Pepper generally what the producers do is they put some mineral oil to cover the pepper to give that more storage life. FSSI standards do not permit that, but NCDX contract permitted for this mineral oil content in that pepper. The quality specification was like that. So in case of pepper, a substantial percentage was getting delivered on the exchange platform because that was like an arbitrage between the spot and the derivative platform. So in sum, what I want to communicate to you is that you should not be judging your market by the indicator of delivery. If you're doing that, you are actually leaving the market in a low-level equilibrium trap. Now, is there any way in which you can address some of the concerns that derivative markets presents to you? There are, of course, some of the, myths have to be busted. Some we will have to strengthen it up. So to the people who say that, if there is MSP-based procurement, then there is no need for derivative market, I often tell them, see, as long as government is not able to procure from every single farmer, from every single mandi, then derivative market has got a case. Because our arm is limited. FCA and NAFOD can't reach every single market. So if you suspend futures market, you are actually depriving a whole lot of participants from taking a market-mediated price risk management. Now, there are some people, sitting in, I didn't tell you, I was handling commodity derivative markets during 2018 and 21. when I was in finance ministry in another department, Department of Economic Affairs. And as a deputy director also for 1 year, I have handled that in somewhere in 2013-14. So I have often heard this argument, derivative contract is not needed for these essential commodities and all. But I would tell them, this is a contract, which is required in those commodities where there is high fluctuation, high chances of fluctuation. And whatever be the reason for it, but it could be government intervention, it could be crop failure, it could be variation in rainfall, or sudden ban of export, whatever be the reason. If there is a case of volatility in prices, including due to any government intervention, still there is a case for contracting a derivative style trading in that market. And some people say that wheat, rice, these are major commodities. You don't enter into derivative trading for such commodities. But I would say that it is in exactly those commodities that we should have a derivative trading, because this is a market. We are creating an organized market. In an organized market, we have to have a number of players. So if you have to have a number of players, it has to be a commodity which is widely consumed or widely produced. Then only it will attract many buyers and sellers, and market would remain fair. Now, people say that no, agri-commodities is not even suited for derivative trading. I would say that agri-commodities need it all the more, because in agri-commodities, what we have called that proverbial cobweb cycle. This is a phenomenon that I'm sure my economic students would be aware of. Cobweb is something which reflects a cobweb. In agri-commodities, we often see this. In 1 year, you will have a high price. And when seeing that high price, people will start producing more. But come to the harvest season in the next year, the prices will crash because there is a surplus production in the market. So, and then you move in this cycle. So if you have to break out of this cobweb cycle, the only option available to you is derivative trading or entering into a forward or futures or option contract, and then secure your price and then work backward to reduce your cost so that your income increases. So speculation is important, because people think that only those people who are participating in the derivative market are speculating. I would say that anybody who is not hedging their position is also speculating. They're taking a view on future. I may not be an actual participant in the market, but then having a commodity in my hand, I am thinking that, okay, after 3 months, prices will be in my favor. At that time, I will buy or sell. That is also equally speculation. And when that is done by, the price stabilizing entities like FCI or NAFED, I would say that they are taking speculative losses for the government as well. Now, hedging through they can do it in the physical market also. If you're not doing that hedging, you would actually end up, incurring a lot of losses. For instance, see, this time, this January, February, you saw a lot of rise in prices because of the Russian crisis. Now, when at that time, we realized that, we didn't have enough stock of pulses with us. Now, and then the acquisition was given to the derivative market. And then I often wonder, my God, 2-3 months down the line, the prices were even below MSP. If you knew that I have a commitment of these many quantities to be purchased from the market, because I have got committed deliveries, I have to supply to military, I have to supply to PDFs, then why I am not at least securing a certain percentage beforehand, and then, suitably either exit from the market or procure that from the farmers. So I would generally tend to perceive this as an unproductive use of capital for speculative purposes only, if I am not doing a hedging. Now, the same views were expressed also by the 1967 committee, okay, the Dantwala committee, which I talked to you earlier about. So they said that, if you, once you give a recommendation to an exchange to start derivative trading, then you should let it function. Otherwise, don't even start or don't even recognize futures trading. Just shut down the market and shut down FMC as well. But don't do this in the middle path. The same views are echoed in other committees also. Look at Habibullah committee report. They also said that, it's not manipulation, it's not speculation, but manipulation, what you should be really concerned about. Now, there are various ways in which you could strengthen the market. Like, for instance, many people say that farmers are not participating. Now, the best way for farmers to come into a future segment is by organizing them as farmer producer organization. Government has already announced a commitment to promote 10,000 FPOs. and almost 100 FPOs representing around 2.3 lakh farmers had already participated in the Agri Exchange of India, which is the NCDX. Now, market could be made more meaningful for hedgers, because some of the hedgers are finding the contracts not very suitable. They say that the moisture content or quality specifications are not very suited for what we normally produce in the market. So this is giving us a lot of risk and price variations between the hedged variety and what we actually produce. So these are the things that we can actually correct for. And then we can integrate this negotiable warehouse receipts trading with the derivative market and have some unified marketing platform which could actually circumvent the constitutional limitations. That agri marketing is actually with the state governments, but derivatives is actually with the central government as per the allocation of work in the constitution schedule, 7th schedule of the constitution. So actually, if you work it out in this way, you can actually circumvent that constitutional limitations and APMC laws as well. Now, government can step in a lot of ways. We can actually mandate our price stabilizing entities, FCI and NAFED, also to hedge a certain percentage of their operation in the market, because they also have got committed deliveries. I said they have to, whatever is the price in the market, they have to deliver to military, they have to do the PDS. So what a certain percentage of that, they can actually hedge through the market. Now, they are big players. Okay, I'm sure when they actually enter the market, SEBI will have a tough time in regulating their dominance in the market. But they have to enter into the market. And how do you think that RBI is controlling exchange rate in a particular window? RBI also enters into a lot of forward trading, okay, through the main public sector banks. If you look into RBI's reports, you would see to what extent RBI is intervening in the market. In the same way, FCA and NAFED should get into this derivative markets and then guide they would be interested in only securing the price at MSP level. If the price is below MSP, they can write contracts which makes them come up to the MSP. So in that way, they can actually guide the markets and then keep the prices in a range. And then those entities which keep a substantial summary inventory of commodities, it should be like your SIP in mutual funds. Imagine FCI, they are going into the market and procuring goods. At that time itself, within 7 days or 10 days, in a rule-bound manner, they should write a contract for selling it, 3 months down the line or 6 months down the line. And that is how, you consistently and systematically enter into the market. Now, what happens is the traders are also crooks in this spot market. They know exactly that FCI will come back and, sell it to them at a lower price, because FCI also has to offload the, stock which are about to rot in that go downs. They will have to, somehow dispose it off. So the farmers who are, the traders who have sold this stock to FCI, even though we say farmers are selling, farmers come through the traders only. So the traders who have sold the stock to FCI would actually buy it back from the FCI at a very low price. And this is something which has been happening time and again. So the market, the derivative market is a very anonymous platform. You would never know who is on the other side, who is transacting with you, because exchange has come in between as a central counterparty and guaranteeing the transaction. So you need not have to know who is your counterparty actually. So in that way, anonymously, FCA or NAFED can enter and exit the market. And, to a great extent, I feel that now that government is actually coming up with a new securities market code, government should ideally consider introducing a certainty clause, or give an assurance that, we won't come in and suspend market just like that without giving time for an orderly winding up. So there are various ways in which government could enter into this transaction, or FCA or NAFED could enter into this transaction. This is the structuring detail. I said you can do part of your procurement, you can liquidate some of the stocks that you have already procured, or you can, without touching the commodity, you can do a financial hedge so that prices will be guided in some range, or you can actually give a market mediated price insurance, which essentially means, as an FCI or NAFED, you can write a put option contract. Basically, you are selling it to the farmers. Farmers will get that contract as a substitute for MSP. And then, come at the harvest time, either you procure or, it will be transferred to other participants. So, and when you're writing the option, you also get what is called the premium income. In that way, you can supplement your income also. So these are the various ways in which government could actually come into the market and support it. I reiterate my views. I'm trying to enlighten you to the unintended consequences that we had in our agri markets. If you correct for the agri marketing reforms, half of your problems in inflation and things are over. So if you can correct for this anomaly that has come into our thought streams, either as a policymaker or as a citizen, then it would do great benefit to the society. I also thank the organizers for inviting me. I wish all the best for SB College in this centenary year. And thanks for turning up on this Saturday. Thank you so much. And I'm really honored to be here with you. So that is, I'll conclude. And congrats, Elizabeth, for being the topper. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am, for such an insightful lecture. Now the floor is open for discussion. Audience members can unmute their mic and be part of the discussion.
Good afternoon, ma'am. I actually had a question. Ma'am, am I audible?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. So my question is, can future prices induce inflation? Or is there any relation between fixing future prices and increasing food prices and the whole thing?
See, I already mentioned to you, futures, this is a myth that we all have, because futures move ahead of the spot market. We think that, futures is leading the spot. And that is really not the case always. Futures market is an informed market space. People have come in and committed their money to take that position. So they are informed traders. So they are taking calculated risk and they are predicting that the market will move in that direction. That is why I said it is not actually causing inflation or deflation. It is pointing the direction of the price movement, but it does not mean that it necessarily causes that. And if market is not predicting, then the market has no power at all. We set up futures market exactly for this purpose. And in fact, in the Abhijit Sen committee 2008, in the 2007-8, we had a major bout of inflation, right? At that time, government had engaged one of our former professors in JNU, Abhijit Sen. Abhijit Sen is really not in favor of commodity markets. He holds a very tight position, and that is a committee where chairman has written a dissent note against the members' opinion. But the committee also could not find any evidence to say that it is caused by futures market is causing inflation. I'll tell you another stat to support that. The total transaction that happens in the futures body, the kind of commodities that are being traded in the futures market, what is their weightage in your consumer price index or wholesale price index? Is very minimum. Can 2 or 3% weightage cause an inflation of that sort? I'm sure as a student of statistics, you would say no. So I would urge all my students, actually, look at the evidence and then see and then realize whether this is causing inflation or not. So to my judgment, as far as I'm concerned, right now, I have not seen any concrete solid evidence to say that, this is causing inflation. But it helps you in protecting against inflation and deflation. That would be my answer. I know this is a slightly technical session, but I thought since I have my MA and BA students and who would soon, be my colleagues and come into the policy space, I plunged into a discussion of this sort. Any other questions?
Ritu?
Ma'am, I'd like to raise a question. I don't know. This is not directly linked to the topic, but then as a policymaker, you could definitely reflect on this. Ma'am, the Ministry of Agriculture and Farmer Welfare, I just looked their statistics and it shows that the annual budget expenditure is somewhere, including all the central programs, all the transfer to state programs, it's somewhere near 1,08,000 crores or something. And the PM Kisan recognizes recognizes that there are 100 to 150 million farmers. So on an average, the welfare that farmer would get somewhere near 6,000 and 7,000 rupees per annum. So, like this is just on account of farmers. There might be other schemes that they are benefiting from, like other social and welfare schemes also. So after all this, there is this image that our farmers are downtrodden. Is this just a myth, or is this something that the politicians and media use for just sensationalism? Are our farmers actually in trouble? And if not, why does this happen?
See, every campaign or every agitation could get politically hijacked. Okay, I'm not discounting that factor. But then, Ritu, would you be, mindlessly going and agitating in the on the street? Would you be throwing away whatever milk or tomato that you are getting onto the street if you are a farmer? So there is certain amount of truth in that, right? There is to a great extent political hijacking of every single agitation, but we cannot shut our eye to the fact that remunerative prices is something which is still eluding our farmers. There is a bulk of middlemen who comes in between and usurp that surplus from the farmers as well. So that is why I have tried to present this as a contracting structure which would enable them to do that. Government is also trying. I mean, in fact, through the farm laws, government was earnestly trying to get that direct access to farmers. But somehow there was a mistrust about that, and we had to withdraw that bill from the parliament. Regarding agricultural allocation, agriculture is also a state subject, so it would be it would not be appropriate if you only look at the budgetary allocation of Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare. You'll have to look at the total allocation across all the state governments and central governments. That would be the most appropriate comparison. I would not be able to say offhand, what is the total allocation. I haven't looked into that aspect.
Ma'am, I would like to raise one more question. Ma'am, you just told me that like political hijacking can be there. It's a very common, like in our system, it's pretty much common. And you just mentioned that moving forward, like any pricing policies, almost all pricing policies have like always been criticized, or are like the recent farm laws are a great example, just as you said. So moving forward, how can we convince our farmers that as policymakers and as politicians and as an administrative system, how can we convince our farmers to like that these policies are actually for their welfare, and so how can we actually do that?
See, there is a lot of communication that we need to do with farmers in their local language. We have to go to the fields, maybe through the Krishi Vikas Kendras, and then probably we'll have to organize these farmers as farmer producer organizations, those who are in the same area, producing the same kind of crops, bring them together as an FPO, make them registered. And then, the top leaders, not everybody need to be aware of what is happening, but then, at least the top leaders would be able to, head through this exchange platform. I would also recommend right now there is a ban on banks from dealing in commodities. This is something which is existing in the banking law. Now, to get popularity for this, it's not just FCI or NAFED which will have to give this price insurance. The bank should be an active participant in that. Bank is somebody who has got reach in even the rural areas as well. So when they approach you, when a farmer is approaching you for a loan, you also see to it that he is remaining hedged. So you take a small fee added to the, like insurance. You add insurance to your loans, right? Same way you can add a small component to that, and then hedge is produced, so that your loan will also not suffer, and then bank can take a position back in the market. This is the pattern which generally China and many Brazil and many other countries actually follow. But right now we have a legal restriction for banks also to participate in the market. So I see banks as one of the major arms who could actually spread this message of price protection to the farmers. And there is no substitute for field work. We have to have a lot of NGOs and government Krishi Vikas Kendras, spreading this message. Otherwise, we will damage our ecology as such. We will have, we will have surplus of what we actually don't need and deficiency of what we actually need. Because, MSP is available only for few products. You will not spread out. You will not take a decision based on what is the future price that you will get for your product, but you will base your decision on your previous price, your past prices, and then what you know. So that is where the deficiency comes in.
Thank you.
Arthu? Hello? Can we announce the scholarship especially?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'd like to invite Johnson K. Joyce, head of the department, to announce the Cecil Scaria Memorial Lecture, which is awarded to the topper of the PG batch.
We have 2 scholarships in memory of our beloved Cecil Scaria, who was from a faculty as well as a multi-talented personality of St. Bergman's College. First one is Professor Cecil Scaria Memorial Endowment, instituted by his wife and children for the student who secures highest mark in MA Economics. It was secured by Elizabeth James. And the second one was Professor Cecil Scaria Memorial Scholarship, instituted by Sri Sabuchari and Punakudi, in memory of his beloved teacher, for the student who secures highest marks in economics. That was also backed by Elizabeth James. I think Elizabeth James can now unmute your video and we can see her. See, Elizabeth James completed her MA Economics in flying colors, and she was then joined South Indian Bank as probationary clerk. Congratulations, dear Elizabeth. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Elizabeth.
Thank you, sir.
Let me invite Johnson K. Joyce, head of the department, for the vote of thanks.
Most respected speaker of the day, Dr. Rosemary K. Abraham, IES. Respected Mama Matthew, College Principal, Reverend Father Rajiv Kurian, Dr. Anila Scaria, Coordinator of the program, Sabucharian, Punakudi, alumni members, former teachers, colleagues, and my dear students. I deem it an honor and privilege to deliver the words of gratitude in this 34th Cesar Scaria Memorial Lecture. The presence of Dr. Rosemary as a resource person is in fact a motivation for our students, as it is evident that through hard work and sheer determination, we can scale new heights. Today's talk shows her immense knowledge in the area and in the subject. Respected Mom, on behalf of the department, with immense joy and pleasure, we acknowledge our gratitude for accepting our invitation and also for being with us in this day throughout. Thank you, Mom. Thank you very much. Also, we have Maman Matthew, Consultant, National Security Council Secretariat, New Delhi, who had recollected his fond memories about the great teacher Cesar Scaria and also about his college days. We came to know each other only during this month, and he called me last day and had a chat with him. From his words, we feel the love and care he had towards the college. Sir, I take this opportunity to express our heartfelt thanks to you for being with us for this program. Thank you very much, sir. We had our principal, Father Rajiv Kurian, who is leading SB during this centenary year. I take this opportunity to thank him also, his presence and his valuable words. And we also had Sabuchari and Punakudi along with us. He is always there to extend his helping hand towards the department. Thank you very much, sir. Also, we have a large amount of alumni, a number of alumni attending this program. The family members of CSS Scaria is also with us. Thank you very much for supporting us. And also we had our, I also take this opportunity to thank Dr. Anila Scaria for coordinating this program in an exemplary way. Thank you, ma'am. Also, I extend my sincere thanks to teachers, former teachers and students and my colleagues for attending this program and making this one a great success. I thank you for the comparing team headed by Ritu. Thank you very much, one and all. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you,
Yes,
sir.
Okay,
So
thank
this will
you.
come to the end of our program. Thank you all. Thank you all dignitaries, participants, staff, and students. Wish you all a wonderful day.
Thank you very much.